how we see things and how we don't see things. When I was in my training to become a shaman, I was taught a story, and I wanted to share that story with you tonight. The story came from an Aboriginal elder up in far north Queensland. And he tells the story this way. There was a young boy, and for the very first time he was allowed to travel with his grandfather. Now, travelling a fair distance, been a couple of days' walk. This young man was really excited because he'd learnt a lot from his grandfather, but he knew there was so much more to learn. So the morning of the walk, he comes racing up to his grandfather. He says, "Grandfather, I'm ready. I've got my water bottle. We're ready to go." And then he looked at his grandfather and he says, Why haven't you got a water bottle?" His grandfather says, "It's all right, I won't need it." So off they went. They started walking. As they were walking, the boy noticed the grandfather, whenever the boy would take a sip, the grandfather would find a tree along the side of the path, look underneath it, take the leaf off, and he'd chew the leaf. He just saw them do this time and time and time again. And as he was going along, he noticed also that the tree that he was taking it from was covered in ants. But he didn't say anything. He just kept going. He was just grateful that grandfather wasn't trying to get his water off him. So they walked on. And eventually it was getting close to the middle of the day. And the boy was getting hungry, and he says, "Grandfather, I need to eat." His grandfather says, "That's all right. Up here, there'll be a kangaroo." And the boy says, "How do you know that?" He says, "It's there." So they keep walking. The boy says, "Grandfather, all the kangaroos, they're hiding in the shade at this time of day." And he says, "Not this one." He says, "Look," and there's a track of a kangaroo. So they followed this track. They keep walking and keep walking. And they come to a clearing. And here's a kangaroo. Grandfather very quickly threw the spear, and they were able to collect their tucker. The boy was impressed with this, of course. So how was he to know? How did grandfather know? But he didn't say anything. And as they were eating their tucker, grandfather was idly just pushing a stone around on the ground. And then he looked up and he said to the boy, "Have to get moving soon. We need to find shelter. Big rain coming." And the boy looks around and he's bright sunny day. Doesn't feel humid. Doesn't feel like a storm's coming. But he knew he had to listen to grandfather. So they packed up their stuff and they started walking. As they were walking, the boy noticed dark clouds starting to move across the sky. Getting closer and closer. The sky was getting darker. They started climbing a hill, and in that hill was some caves. And they made it to the caves, and they got inside, and then the storm came down. As I was sitting listening to the storm, nicely protected, the boy says to grandfather, how do you know these things?" And grandfather said, "Well, right at the start of the day, you asked if I'd be thirsty." And the boy said, "Yeah, but you just kept eating those leaves." And grandfather says, "Yes." Turn the leaf over, and underneath that leaf is all the moisture. And the boy said, how do you know that there was moisture there? He said, you watch the ants. The ants go climbing up to collect the water. Oh, okay. And the boy says, but what about when we were hungry and you knew that kangaroo would be there? That was magic. And he says, no, not magic. On the ground were the tracks. He said, on that track, that kangaroo was lifting 1 foot. That kangaroo was already injured. And I knew that kangaroo couldn't make it to shelter. And that became our tucker. Okay. And then the boy says, but surely that the fact that there was not a cloud in the sky and you knew that rain was coming. Did the ancients, did they tell you, grandfather? And grandfather said, well, sort of. The Creator's always talking to us. It just depends on whether you pay attention. He said, I knew that those storms were coming. Because when I kicked the rock, underneath was an ant's nest. And they were very busy collecting their food and moving it away. They knew the rain was coming and they were taking their food to higher ground. And grandfather says to the young boy, the Creator, Spirit, the ancients, they're always talking to us. So when you're looking for an answer, don't go looking for the answer. Look around for the clues, because that's how Spirit talks to us. They give us directions so we can find out for ourselves. So when we're traveling this path, always remember that you might have a problem, you might have an issue, you might be concerned about something. The Creator may not give you the answer directly, but you need to learn how to look. And the way to how to look is by looking for the clues. And the Creator's always giving you them, particularly when we're in times of stress. It's a constant stream. You just have to pay attention and use your intuition. Aho.